Hi folks, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. So it is late September 2024 and there are no open source large language models. What do I mean by that? But Llama, you might say, Llama is open source, Mistral is open source, Phi is open source, and this video is about how that's not really the right term to use for these models. The creators of all these models are calling these models open source, particularly Llama. But that's not what that means.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Open source originally meant that you could download and inspect and change the source code of something. The term goes back to the early days of Linux and the GNU system.
So it's the GNU plus Linux or GNU/Linux system,
where you could download the source code with a very permissive license. You could even use it for commercial use, and you could change it if you like. To say that these models where you can download the weights and run them locally are open source is like saying, well, Photoshop and Microsoft Office are open source because you can download the binaries and run them locally. You might not have the source code, but you can download the binaries. And that's what these models are. They let you download the binaries, the trained weights of the model. But what makes for source code? So with traditional software, a compiler compiles the source code to a binary, and then you run that binary on your computer. With models, you have a training data set, and you pass that training data set through a training pipeline, and you get the pre-trained weights. And that's what you're downloading. When you're downloading and running Llama locally or Phi or Gemma locally, you're getting the pre-trained weights. Now, what would the actual source code be for a model? The actual source code would be not just the weight, the binary, not just the binary, but all the training data used to train the model, the entire training data set, along with a full specification of how it was trained. So the source code for the training pipeline and all the parameters. You'd still have to bring your own hardware, but that's what would make the source code for a model. And I think calling these things open source is a huge dilution or co-opting of the term open source. And now, today in industry, all the big companies are very friendly towards open source. They're all embracing open source. But if you look at the late 90s, the early 2000s, this was not the case. Most large companies like Microsoft were actively hostile towards open source. So what should we call them instead? Well, in the absence of the actual source code, i.e. the training data and the training pipeline, you could call them open weights or locally runnable models or something like that. But it shouldn't be called open source. All right, so there's my rant. Just wanted to get that off my chest. I will see you next time. Thank you.